ほら、ルフィ、今一緒に海賊になる仲間を探してるんだ。
Hello guys, welcome to my channel The Wandering Zoro, your go-to destination for anime-related content. And if you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out on our latest videos. In today's video, we're going to be diving into part 2 of the series What If Izuku Became the Strongest Hero Teacher? So be sure to stick around until the end, and let's get started. It's been some days since the USJ incident. Since Deku had dealt with the attack in such a quick and decisive manner, it meant that UA only gave the students a day off so they could go home to their friends and families, since being a villain attack is a rather traumatizing experience. This, however, didn't stop the Heroes Association getting involved, calling a meeting between major heroes where all major faces featuring All Might, Endeavor, Hawks, and many, many more. But this excluded someone. Izuku Midoriya. Where the hell is he? Enji Todoroki said, sitting at the table crossed-armed. He's always late, Aizawa replied, reminding himself of all the meetings Midoriya missed. Mountain Lady sighs, that idiot is wasting all of our time. It's been 15 minutes. She yells out, annoyed at their former classmate's absence. That's until Midoriya walks in casually. Yo. Midoriya says casually as he takes his seat. Ah, young Midoriya, great that you joined us. All Might says, overly happy, which doesn't stop Endeavor from theorizing about if Midoriya was All Might's child. It's about time, Deku. We've been waiting here for ages. Mount Lady yelled at the number 3. I'll relax, you am here, aren't I? You should know me well enough. Midoriya smirked back at his former classmate, now co-worker. I wish I didn't, said the annoyed Mountain Lady, until Midoriya suddenly appeared beside her and put his hand over her shoulder. Oh, come on, you don't mean that, don't you? Come on, don't you remember when we messed with Takami by pulling his wings? Midoriya said with puppy eyes. Brief flashback showing a chibi teen Midoriya and Takayama in the joint UA Shiketsu festival pulling the wings of a teenage Hawks. BFF tries to hold in her laugh, but fails. How, you see? You do like me. Midoriya said in a childishly teasing tone. Hawks, who was sitting right next to them, sighed. You do know you're right next to me, right? Hawks said, annoyed that they are talking about him right in front of him. Gah, enough, children. Can we begin the meeting now? Suddenly Endeavor burst into flames as he silenced the 3 young adults. All Might coughs, trying to ease the tension. Well, I guess we should begin the meeting, he said awkwardly as they began the meeting and returned to their seats. As you all know, a couple of days ago, the first-year students of UA were attacked by a villain group hell-bent on taking down All Might, Nizu said. How could they be so confident in that idea? I mean, come on, it's All Might, ain't no nobody beating him, Midnight says, trying to understand such overconfidence. Well, they weren't that delusional in thinking they could defeat me, as they possessed a secret weapon called Nomu, which supposedly rivaled me in power, All Might said, which draw-dropped most of the room. Wait, what? Said most of the pros. But you did defeat it, right? Pro Hero Ed Shot said over the table. Well, you see, I was going to teach the first year, but I was kind of busy talking to the press, All Might said, embarrassed, rubbing the back of his head, embarrassed. Wait, so you mean to be telling us present, Mike said, turning to the number 3 hero. That idiot stopped a thing stronger than All Might? Mountain Lady said in awe and almost disgust as she pointed at Deku. Yep, that's me. Midoriya said, exectedly chuckling. I guess the cat's out of the bag, huh? Yes, young Deku here is stronger than me and was able to easily dispose of the Nomu, All Might said with a smile. Huh. Since when? I call hacks. Takayama yells, pointing at Midoriya. I've had suspicions, Endeavor said. Him, really? Said All Might in response with a small sweat drop falling down his face. I mean, isn't it obvious? The overwhelming strength and the fact Midoriya yells smash when he hits an opponent. He's obviously All Might's child. Endeavor declares confidently to the rest of the group, who look at him in confusion. Haha, what a funny joke, Endeavor, haha. All Might joked, laughing nervously after thinking his and Midoriya's secret was blown. Yes, I seems that Midoriya really is the strongest hero, isn't he? And it seems we will be needing him if these League of Villains, people have more of these, so Clailed Nomanizu says. Yeah, that's the worrying part, they could have a whole army of those things, Midnight said, sweating a tad bit. And they can have 2 or 1,000,000, but he'll still win. The problem is everybody else's ability to handle these, Noma Midoriya said confidently. Indeed, Midoriya was able to defeat it with little to no difficulty, which is definitely reassuring to know. Alrighty, I think we are done today, ladies and gentlemen, Nizu said, sipping his tea before announcing the end of the meeting as many heroes started leaving. Midoriya has just left the building where a bunch of heroes were cramped together into a room. Midoriya does some small stretches after leaving the building, finally out of there. Can't stand meetings, but oh well, I guess I can spend the rest of the day to my. Hey, number 3. Suddenly, a harsh female voice yelled from a distance, which made Midoriya freeze in place. Oh great, Midoriya sighed as suddenly a woman jumped down from a building as the ground beneath her broke. It was none other than the number 8 hero Maruko. I challenge you to a fight. Maruko yelled, pointing at the green flash with determination. Deku and Maruko have been training buddies for a while now, mostly due to Maruko's persistence in challenging the green-haired hero to battles which she loses every time, but its surly doesn't stop her from trying again and again, but honestly Midoriya can respect that. Midoriya then gets a grin on his face. Alright Bugs, I guess I'll humor you. All that lying around made me stiff anyway, he says, cracking his knuckles. Maruko smashes her knuckles together. Oh, don't think you can use that as an excuse when I kick your butt 3. She replies, gritting her teeth. By the next day, all the students had returned to their dorms and be ready to begin their first day back at class. The class was loud, well louder than usual, as many were rambling on about the events of the USJ until suddenly they could hear a distinctive teleportation sound they all grew to know. It's Midoriya-sensei. Yo! The pro hero raised his hand to greet his student with a wave. Midoriya-sensei/teach/DKU. The entire class yelled at once as they gathered around their teacher, showing their praise. You were so amazing. You yelled smash, and he exploded. It was so cool. Not half bad. Please teach us your ways. How strong are you? So cool. Midoriya chuckles at the large crowd of loud children in front of him. All right, settle down now. He calms his class down as he tells them to take their seats finally. So, class, as you should know, the sports festival is coming up soon. Midoriya excitedly announces to the whole class. Wait, so soon? I thought we had more time. Zero asked, caught off guard by the announcement. Well, I suppose we all are still processing what happened back at the USJ some days ago that we lost track of the time, Momo suggests to the class. Yeah, it's not something you can get your mind off easily, Denki said, rubbing the back of his head. I mean, yeah, how can you not think about it? Midoriya-sensei was all cool, easily one-shotting all the villains like he was an overleveled prodag doing start-of-game side quests. Mineta fanboys. And that begs the question, if Deku-sensei can beat an all-might level villain, why is he still at 3? Asked Denki. Deku chuckles, well, muscle can only get you so far. At some point, charisma and heroism comes into play, and All Might has me beat in those areas by a long shot, he explains. Still doesn't explain why you're still below Endeavor though, Jiro adds. Well, let's keep this to ourselves, but I turn down the number 2 position every time there is an election, so Endeavor won't get angry at me, Deku says a little quieter. Makes sense, Shoto comments, taking the comment surprising well. Deku turns back to the class. Alright, enough about me. This is your time to shine after all, Deku says, turning his attention back to the sports festival. Shinso tuned in. I suppose we should start kicking out training into high gear. You're right about that, Shinso. After all, you all want to be noticed by top heroes, don't you? So try your best. Deku motivates his class even more. Yeah, let's do our best. Yelled Uraraka in the back with the others around her, skoked at her determined, yelling, seeing as the usually happy and bright girl turned into a battle-lusted warrior. That's the spirit. Deku smiles at the gravity girl's motivation. Deku looked proudly how alive his class looked for the sports festival, and he couldn't help but remember his own experience. Not just sports festival, but something else too. 2009. It was a bright summer's day in Mizuta-fu. The birds were singing and the flowers were blooming. And days like this call for a beach party, yelled multiple teenagers as they jumped onto the Mizuta-fu beach, which was full of life, for now at least. Everyone was enjoying the summer day, playing in the water, playing beach ball, and even building sand castles. Well, not everyone. Oh, or Takayama, aren't you going to join us at the beach? Said a blue-skinned girl. Name, Karakoko Iwata. Age, 17. Quirk, Bubble. Hero name, Bubble Girl. Occupation, second-year student at UA. She was talking to a blonde girl with shoulder-length hair with purple-pinkish eyes who was laying the shade on a towel. Nah, sorry, Iwata. I'm just gonna lay here and enjoy the sun away from those noisy men, the girl said, putting on some shades. Name, Yu Takayama. Age, 17. Quirk, Gigantificating. Hero name, M&T Lady. Occupation, second-year student at UA. Oh, okay. Iwata walks away shyly. Takayama sighed as she put her sunglasses on and lies back down. She sighs, looking to the noisy people on the beach. Gr, can't they see him trying to relax? She said, annoyed at the rookus, until smack. She was hit in the face with a beach ball. Ow. Hey, who threw that? Yu yelled with her sunglasses now broken and a throbbing pain to the head as she saw two people approach her. Wow, she's sorry. You good? Said a figure who approached her. He had green hair and freckles while wearing a blue Hawaiian shirt and sunglasses. Name, Izuku Midoriya. Age, 17. Quirk, Uncone one for all. Hero name, Deku. Occupation, second-year student at UA. Of course I'm not good, you idiot. You hit me with a ball. She yelled back, full of anger, as she stood up and started smacking and bashing her hands on Izuku's chest, while Midoriya remains unfazed, chuckling even. You began comically yelling at Midoriya. You should be more nice, Midoriya. What happened to the kind little you from our first year? You've been corrupted by that. Hey, you, lay off Midoriya, Surley. It was an accident, right? Suddenly, a figure walks in. He has black hair and red eyes while wearing a dark gray Hawaiian shirt. Midoriya, gasped Tenko. Long time no see. Name, Tenko Shimura. Age, 17. Quirk, Decay. Hero name, Entropy. Occupation, second-year student at UA. Yes, sorry for not hanging out. I was grinding this new game called League of Legends. I got pretty hooked straight away. Tenko apologizes. No problem, Tenko. Let's go and enjoy the sun. Midoriya puts his arm around his shoulder and gives a smile, which Tenko couldn't help but chuckle at. Him and Midoriya have always been close. Well, close ever since. Flashback. It was an early blue day in Mizutofu as kids and adults alike rush around to get to school and work. While the exception is one young boy with messy blue hair, red eyes, and scars over his body, limping on the streets as vital fluid leaked from his arms. At first, people looked in concern, but when they saw the boy's face, the concern turned to disgust and fear as they turned a blind eye to it. Surely someone else will help that crepey kid, was a thought shared by many people, youthful and old. But one soul thought otherwise. Inko was taking Izuku to school that morning, but while Izuku looked across the street, he saw someone was injured. Suddenly, something in Izuku told him to help that boy as he ran across the street to see the boy, who had just fallen to the ground in tears after nobody had helped him. Izuku, wait. Inko yelled across the street, worried that her son would run into incoming traffic, but he managed to avoid any accidents while running across the road. His movements slowed as he walked up to the crying boy. Hey, are you okay? Midoriya said, approaching him. The boy sniffs no, he says, looking up, seeing the boy approaching him as he falls back. Stay back. He yelled with tears still running down his face. He didn't want to hurt this boy like how he hurt them. What's wrong? You can ask me. I won't tell anyone, Midoriya says, trying to convince the boy. My quirk, if I touch you, you will die? The boy made out the words. Midoriya got an idea of what kind of quirk it was. Sweetie. Suddenly, Inko ran across the street to see the two boys. Oh, Mom. This boy needs out help. Izuku pointed to the boy. Oh dear, are you all right there? Inko looked at the boy, worried, her motherly instincts kicking in. He said he has a quirk which would hurt people on touch. He tires to explain to his mom. That's when Izuku got an idea as he put his school bag on the floor and pulled out some gloves. He put the gloves on the floor to the boy's side. Here, that would stop it, right? Midoriya stuttered as the boy looked up in surprise at Midoriya, who gave him his best, all-might smile. The boy put the gloves on slowly but steadily, and when he was finished, he looked in happiness as his quirk no longer affected anything as he started to cry, not from sadness and grief, but out of happiness. Thank you, he managed to blurt out from his tears as he hesitantly walked towards Midoriya and hugged him with the tears soaking up Izuku's shoulder. After the hug ended, Midoriya looked the scared boy in the eyes. What's your name? Izuku asked. Tenko Shimura. Tenko said stutteringly. Inko was able to get in contact with authorities after that, which meant the young boy could get the proper treatment he deserved. Thankfully, some brave soul offered to raise the young boy going by the name of Toshinori Yagi, who Izuku would eventually find out was All Might himself after becoming All Might's successor. Midoriya and Tenko remained friends, even going to the same middle school, until eventually taking the leap into getting in UA. Tenko, Midoriya said, knocking Shimura out of his daydreaming. You good? Izuku asked, confused. Ah yes, sorry, Midoriya. Phased out for a second there, Tenko says, chuckling, rubbing the back of his head. Have you been getting any sleep? You know staying up all night like that is bad, Midoriya says. I swear on all might that I am. I promise, Tenko replied back. Meanwhile, Yu just looks in complete shock as the two of them just ignore her. Are you guys just ignoring me? Yu yelled at the two's unintentional rudeness. Whoa, sorry there, Yu. Yeah, sorry for bothering you like that, Midoriya apologizes. You have a good day sleeping, or whatever, Tenko waved as the two of them left. You noticed them suddenly leaving. Curse you, Izuku, Midoriya, and your cute face and extremely hot muscles, she whispered angrily. Hey, Takayama. Takayama jumped when she heard that as she turned around and saw. Takayama gasped, Tatsuma-senpai. She yelled as she went to hug the blonde hero. Name, Ryuko Tatsuma. Age, 19. Quirk, dragon. Hero name, Ryukyu. Occupation, hero. Hey, it's good to see you too, Takayama. I see you are still having trouble controlling those two. Ryuko chuckles. Yeah, you sighs. Ryuko used to be such a great help in keeping the boys in check, but since she has gotten into hero work, she is left alone to deal with their antics. So Tatsuma, how is the hero life going? Asked you, and Ryuko just sighs. It's been doing good. Soon I'll be my own full-fledged hero. The dragon hero gives a small smile. You gasps, wow. So cool. I can't wait to make my own debut onto the hero scene. Hopefully some particular idiots don't ruin it, she growls, looking at Tenko and Izuku, who are playing beach ball. Whoa. Izuku ducks down to hit the ball back up with such power the opposing opponents to Izuku and Tenko were unable to hit it back. Yeah, we won. Izuku and Tenko said, giving each other a high five at their victory, while the other two just leave out of annoyance. Tenko. Suddenly Tenko could hear a familiar female voice he was all too familiar with. He turned around to see a girl with silver hair tucked into a bun and violet-purple eyes, while she is wearing a white bikini, which left the dust hero jaw-dropping by her appearance. Name, Emi Aoki. Age, 17. Quirk, healing. Hero name, Hira, the battle medic hero. Occupation, second year at UA. Or Emi. Or what a surprise to see you here. Tenko suddenly blushed red as he looked away, trying not to look at her cute face. Oh, hi, Aoki. Midoriya waves cheerfully. Aoki giggles, me too. We're used to you being in your dorm all day playing Smash Brothers, or something, she said. Yeah, I suppose so, Emi. I surprised myself, honestly, Tenko replied stutteringly. There was an awkward silence between the two of them before Tenko suddenly acted, looking at his watch. Well, look at the time. Let's go, Izuku. Tenko quickly rushed away, grabbing Midoriya by the collar of his shirt as they walked out of the beach. Whoa, Tenko, what was that all about? Why have you been acting so weird around her lately? I feel like suddenly something sparks in Midoriya's eyes as he speaks. Wait, don't tell me you like her. Midoriya says out loud. Her? I never. Well, don't I don't. Tenko says, covering his face out of embarrassment. Midoriya lets out a little chuckle, hee hee. You never will not don't you don't, Midoriya counterphrased, while meanwhile inside one for all Nana can't hold her laughter at her grandson's embarrassment. Right, Tenko admits as Midoriya puts his hand over his shoulder. Don't worry, Tenko, I won't tell anyone about your little crush, Midoriya reassures, giving a little smile. Yeah, sure, ladies man. Tenko regains composure, making a little smug comment too. Hey, I'm not a ladies man. Midoriya with an annoyed tone. Come on, admit you are. Endeavor even tried setting up his own daughter with you because he wanted a super powerful grandkid or something, plus you already have a Tumblr page full of fangirls, Tenko says, pulling up his phone to show it. Yeah, right, but it doesn't mean I flirt with a bunch of girls or something. Midoriya rebutted back. I mean, you flirt quite a lot, Tenko smirks, saying that, which makes Midoriya red. Hey, wait a minute. But before Midoriya could make a quick comeback line, an explosion quickly caught their attention. Huh. The two say at the same time as they look up at a tall 50-story high building where an explosion just emanated from. The civilians from below at the explosion, which had just emanated from the large building, in shock and terror as two figures appear from out of destroyed building window. One was thinner and was wearing a suit and top hat, while the other man was a brute 7-foot-tall bald man with a tank top. Well, hello, ladies, gentlemen, and that rainbow in between. We are the Crusher Corps, and today we will give you all demonstration of our power. Kyumeyu? The shorter villain nudged the tall, bulky one. Hugh chuckled with pleasure. Horu, he said, pumping his fists together as he activated his quirk, which made him able to turn into a ball. The ball then started piercing through the building at high speeds, which caused debris to fall down on civilians below. "Run," said one civilian as they all scattered at the sight of the danger. They all ran, but one little girl tripped and fell. "Mommy, Daddy," yelled the little girl who looked no older than 10 as a piece of rubble was about to hit her. "Ochako," yelled the father as he ran to get her, but before he could act, a green blur suddenly snatched and grabbed her out of the way as the rubble fell, causing some smoke to cloud the area. The father looked at the figure as the mystery boy held Ochako in his arms. The dust settled to reveal Izuku Midoriya holding the little girl. "Hey, you good there?" Izuku asked as he held the girl in his arms, but the brown-haired girl couldn't help but look in awe and admiration at the green-haired hero in training as Izuku then gave the girl to his father. "Thank you so much. Are you a hero?" asked the father. Midoriya was still in his blue Hawaiian shirt, so it was hard to tell if it was the act of a hero or just a brave civilian who saved his daughter. "The name's Izuku Midoriya. I'm a hero in training, but you can call me Deku," he smirked at the man. Tenko appeared just behind him as they both look up at the destruction above them. "So let's say me and you beat these bad guys up, huh?" the Shimura suggested, eyeing Midoriya. "I guess we should put those provisional licenses to use how entropy?" Midoriya smirked back as he handed the little brown-haired girl his sunglasses. "Hold on to these for me, all right? Gotta beat up bad guys," he says, giving the girl a smile. The girl looks at the glasses before looking back at him. "Right. Wait, you're just teenagers. Shouldn't real heroes be doing this?" asked one civilian. "Don't worry, we're the strongest around," Midoriya said to the civilian as the two of them clicked their watches as they were suddenly engulfed in a green and red aura, but soon after they appeared in their hero outfits. Tenko's hero suit. They look at each other with a smile, try to keep up Izuku comments as they suddenly dash up the building with their speed alone. The villain known as Horu scoffs Gur heroes. He said as he summoned his quirk, which created a giant construct of a drill and fired it at the heroes. "Whoa." The two yell in sync as they dodge the drill by jumping the windows as Izuku summons Black Whip and grabs onto Tenko as they swing further up the building. "You think you can handle the drill guy? Or should I take them both on?" Midoriya smugly says as they swing. Tenko chuckles. "I'm not ready to be outdone, Midoriya. They'll take him," he says as he leaps off Midoriya and tackles into Horu before he could have the chance to summon the drill. Meanwhile, Midoriya sees Q in his ball state, causing further damage to the building. If this goes any longer, the building will be destroyed. Izuku jumps onto the floor where Q is causing destruction on and catches him with his bare hands before he could hit another pillar. The guy was actually stronger than Midoriya thought as his feet dug into the ground and was gnarly going to be knocked out of the building, so he needed a little extra juice. Midoriya suddenly emanated green electricity, and with his newfound power he stops the Wrecking Ball villain in their tracks. Q is forced to transform back into his normal state, where his size advantage definitely showed as he towered over Midoriya and grabbed the hero by the shoulders. "I don't think so, hero." But before he could finish his sentence, he was keened in the chin, which sent Q back to the other side of the building as he tried regaining his composure. "You were saying?" Midoriya said as he walked calmly towards the villain and then delivered a devastating gut to the punch, which left Q puking saliva out as fell onto Midoriya's shoulder, but was then punched in the face as he fell unconscious as his body nearly fell off the building before Midoriya caught him with his Black Whip. Midoriya sat on the ledge as he held up Q with his Black Whip. "Wonder how Tenko's doing?" Midoriya said to himself. After Tenko tackled the drill hero into the building, the villain quickly stepping back a bit to make some distance. "Well, aren't you a little young to be a hero?" asked Horu mockingly. "I dunno. Aren't you a little old to be throwing tantrums in public?" smirked Tenko, which angered the villain. "Gur," he grunted as he summoned his drill and threw it in the direction of Tenko, but instead of dodging, he gripped his feet and took the drill head on, holding it back with his bare hands. He held on to it so hard his feet were tearing through solid concrete to simply hold it back before suddenly the drill started decaying. "What the impossible?" yelled out Horu. As the drill turned to dust on the floor, Tenko chuckled. "What can I say? I'm good with my hands," he says smirkingly as he puts his gloves back on before suddenly vanishing out of Horu's sight. "Huh," stuttered Horu as Tenko left his line of sight until suddenly he felt someone grab his face and slam him into the concrete wall, breaking it, causing Horu to spit out vital fluid before Tenko pulled him out of the wall to gut punch, uppercut, and finally finish with a punch to the jaw. Tenko had accomplished that in all but a second due to his sheer speed. By the end of it, Horu was left unconscious with a dent in his cheek. Tenko pulled the unconscious villain onto his shoulder as he walked out of the building. Midoriya and Shimura walked out of the building, being met by the applaud of the civilians with a police van parked nearby. Ryukyu walked out to greet them. "Thank you for dealing with this, boys. I was busy with another case," she says, coughing in the middle nervously since she was at the beach 5 minutes ago. Midoriya uses Black Whip to pull the two villains into the police van as they talk. "No problem, Ryukyu," says Midoriya, chuckling. "Anyways, we'll be off now." "I'm sure you have it from here," Tenko says as he and Midoriya walk off, de-transforming from their hero costumes, but wasn't before the little girl from before ran up to Midoriya. "Hey, wait," yelled out the little girl, which got Midoriya's attention. "Oh." Izuku kneeled down as the girl handed him his glasses, which made Izuku only smile. "Hey, tell me, kid, what do you want to be when you grow up?" asked Midoriya. The girl looked shyly. "I want to be a hero so I can help mommy and daddy," the girl told the teen hero. "Oh, really? Can't wait to work side by side as heroes then. Say, keep the glasses. You've earned them," he says, putting the glasses on her. They were a bit big for her, but she didn't care for that, as she was staring in awe and admiration at the teen hero. "Izuku, you coming?" Tenko says from far away. "Oh, coming." Midoriya then started running up to him, leaving the girl on her own to think. "I'm gonna be a hero," thought the young girl. "Finally got out of that suit. The watch thing is cool and all, but it's so tight, plus it's pretty weak compared to the real deal," Midoriya complains. Tenko chuckles. "Yeah, tell me about it. So wanna head back to the dorms and play some Smash Brothers?" "No way. You always use Meta Knight and spam that same move all the time." Midoriya replies back. "Hee, alright, Mario Kart it is," Tenko says, still chuckling. Izuku and Tenko couldn't wait for what the future brings. Midoriya? Midoriya. Suddenly Izuku was hit in the head by a piece of crunched-up paper by Aizawa. "Get up, Aizawa," said, annoyed, still throwing bits of paper at him. "Ow." Alright, I'm up," Midoriya replied, getting up while nagging childishly. "What's wrong? Usually you're the one nagging me to not sleep on the job," Aizawa asked. "Oh, it's nothing, just had a good dream, that's all," Midoriya said, smiling as he remembered back to good times. Aizawa got up from the chair and walked out of the room. "All right. See you there," he said as he left. Midoriya sighed. Truth be told, he never had a good sleep schedule, well, never since his second year at UA after the incident, but he brushed that aside and caught up with Aizawa as they walked towards the sports festival stadium. Uraraka is in her room, dressed in the UA Sports Festival uniform, as she goes to the shelf on the opposite side of the room and pulls out a set of sunglasses from a box. These were the same glasses Deku had gave her when was just 10 years old. The lenses were cracked and one of the temples had broken off. This was mostly due to Uraraka insisting on wearing them every time she played hero. She remembered when she cried running to her parents when she realized she broke the lens. She chuckles to herself before hearing a knock on her door. "Hey, Uraraka. The festival is gonna start soon." Uraraka heard Mina say from the door. "Oh, coming." Uraraka placed the glasses down and ran outside to get with the others as the sports festival was beginning. While rushing out the door, she felt a rush of determination. She is gonna win the sports festival and make her parents and Deka-sensei proud. Cutting forward, everyone was getting prepared in the locker room. "It sucks that we can't use our hero costumes here. It would have been so cool," Mina says. "I suppose so. I suppose a lot of us will be at a disadvantage, like Hagakure, for example," Ojiro replied back. Toru only laughs. "I could always just ditch the clothes entirely," which made everyone look weirdy. "Or you don't happen to be a nudist, are you, Hagakure?" Jiro stuttered. She was invisible, but come on. Meanwhile, Bakugo was sitting on the bench until Todoroki approached him. What do you want, Frosty?" Bakugo said as rudely as ever. "Looking at things objectively, we are the strongest of Class 1A, but if we were to ever face each other, I would win," Todoroki explains clearly, which made Bakugo get up out of his seat in anger. "Huh. Oh, you really think so, icy hot?" Bakugo said, getting up in Todoroki's face, yelling. "If I only used my ice, then I would be in trouble, but using my fire, I would win." Todoroki remained composed. "All right then. Finals, me and you. Don't get knocked out by some random extra, got it?" Bakugo accepted. "Right," Todoroki said, walking away as their rivalry truly began. Suddenly, Midoriya-sensei popped in out of nowhere. "Yo. I hope I didn't walk in on any of you with your literal pants down," Midoriya says as he scared the every living hell of Denki by his sudden speed. Teleportation? It's basically interchangeable. Ah, stop doing that. Dinky stuttered out. Huh, doing what? Midoriya asked oblivious. He means you jump scaring people. Jiro responds back. Huh, me jump scare people? Since when? Izuku asked appalled. You made Mineta jump out of his dorm room window out of fear after you teleported into his room to give him his homework, Kirishima told Midoriya. Oh, so that's what that was all about, Midoriya said, honestly surprised. He honestly thought Mineta just did that. So anyway, I came to wish you guys luck for the sports festival. I know you guys are already gonna knock him dead with all the hard training you've put yourselves into, Midoriya said cheerfully, giving them a thumbs up before walking away. Anyway, you'll be watching from the stands by, said Midoriya before instantly vanishing from everyone's sight. What even is he? Asked Kirishima before everyone returned to preparing for the festival. Izuku returned to the teacher's lounge area where he watched the event unfold, where he spotted Vlad King. Oh, Vlad King. Midoriya rushed over to Vlad in an excited manner. Oh, great, Vlad King sighs as he sees Midoriya approach him. Can't wait to see Class 1B in action. I bet you've been training them well. Midoriya said excitedly. Yeah, Class 1B has a lot to show for themselves if they want to get the same kind of limelight your kids are getting, which is why I trained them the best I could, Vlad King explained, trying to brush off Midoriya's childish annoyance as he looked down at the sports festival. Hey, pay attention, audience. Swarm, mass media. This year's high school rodeo of adolescence that you all love, the UA Sports Festival, is about to begin. Everybody, are you ready? It's time for the students to enter the first-year stage. Present, Mike said. The students step out of the tunnel and into the sports festival stadium with everyone amazed by the sheer amount of people present. It was quite nerve-wracking for every student, honestly, no matter how strong or small. They haven't been getting as much airtime, but this class is also full of talent. Class 1B. Present, Mike introduced Class 1B to the crowd. Class 1B appears shortly after with Midoriya inspecting them. I can already tell your students are going to give mine a run for their money if they don't take it seriously, Midoriya compliments. Oh, really, huh? Well, let's see how it goes, Vlad King replies. Next up, General Studies Classes C, D, and E. Support Course, Classes F, G, and H are here, too. And Business Course, Classes I, J, and K. All of UA's first years are here now. Present, Mike introduces the other classes. Shortly after, a student was picked to make a speech, and it was Bakugo. I pledged to be number one, Bakugo declared, which made Class 1A cringe in pain, knowing it would do a nuclear bomb ton of damage to Class 1 as already fragile reputation amongst the other classes, while Midoriya was just laughing at the speech. He sure has a way with words, Midoriya commented, still chuckling. It's like seeing your younger brother trying to act all big and tough. Some commotion later. Midnight walked out now. Let's get started right away. The first game is what you'd call a qualifier, she declared as she guided the students to the first event, while whipping her whip on the floor, which made Deku shiver, which made Vlad King look a bit concerned. What did she do to Deku on that one date? The better question would be what she didn't do to Deku on that date. Meanwhile, you, who was watching from the side, cursed old lady, she grunts quietly. The first event was an obstacle course. All the students got into position, and as soon as the match started, the ground beneath all of them froze, as Todoroki Chippy did with the stronger ones like Kirishima and Bakugo breaking free easily. The course continued as they approached the first stage, which had the 0-pointers from the entrance exams to the shock and terror of the students, but thankfully for them, people like Bakugo and Todoroki were able to barge through them, allowing for the students' safe passing. Next up was the fall, where the students must traverse long pillars or else fall into the dark depths, with everyone using their own create ways of getting past it, from Tsu using her frog-like abilities to climb on the ropes, or Todoroki skiing on the lines. The final part of the course was the minefields, where the entirety of the ground was covered head to toe in minefields, meaning everyone had to be extra careful not to step on them. Unless you're Todoroki, Ida, or Bakugo, who just barge right through the minefields. The final lap was between Todoroki and Bakugo, both being neck and neck. Gore, I am gonna beat you half and half, Bakugo yells while they run. I don't think so. Suddenly, Todoroki's left started to burn up as his flames suddenly appeared, firing his flames, which backblast was so strong it spewed him into the finishing line, coming first, with Bakugo arriving in second shortly after. Endeavor, who was watching from the stands, smiled pridefully. Yes, Shoto. You've embraced your true self. using the power which will surpass me, All Might, and even Deku. He yells from the stands, which gets weird look from the spectators. Shoto, who had just finished the race, looks up at his father's loud ramblings and scoffs. He didn't do it for his father, no. He looked up to the stands to see Deku, who looks down at him with a smile, and he responds with a small smile of his own. Deku-sensei had taught him over these months to embrace his true self and accept that the fire is not his father's as much as he thought it was. Gurwayu. Bakugo yells angrily as he just came past the finishing line. He storms up towards Todoroki. Don't get comfortable in the top, just get icy hot, for I am going to be the king of this entire festival. Bakugo declared, pointing a thumb at himself. That's Vegeta's technique. After everyone had finished, the next event was lined up, the cavalry battle. Students in teams of 2 to 4 are given headbands with points determined by which place they came in the race. Unfortunately for Todoroki, however, he had to end up with the 10 million points, which put a big bounty on his head. Midoriya wonders how Todoroki and the class in general would deal with such a situation. Would Shoto's most trusted friends stick together or be distant, fearing for their own sake in the competition? Meanwhile, the heroes and staff were hanging out. Endeavor had some words to say to Deku. I must say, Deku, I thank you for efforts in making Shoto change his mind. Now he will finally realize the potential I keep telling him he has. Endeavor says pridefully in his son's achievements. Midoriya laughs. You flatter me, Endeavor, but I didn't do it to make you proud. I did it because he just needed a little push to break free from you, he said casually with a smirk, which only angered the number 2 hero further. Most of the teachers and heroes looked in shock at the comment. Break free? Like I'm keeping my son hostage? Don't be ridiculous, child. I am simply guiding my son on the right path. The path of a hero, and we both want, he said angrily, his flames bursting around him to Midoriya's disinterest. Endeavor sighed as he spoke. It's quite rude to put yourself into other people's family problems and act like you fully understand it. With a glance, especially with a person of your track record. Huh. What's that supposed to mean, number 2? Midoriya said, getting interested into the conversation. Enji grits his teeth. You don't understand my son at all. Much like how you failed to understand your own best friend. But before he could finish that sentence, a black whip was shot at him. It was too fast for him to react, but it barely missed his neck as it cracks the wall behind him. Deku pulls the black whip back. Shut it, he says, gritting his teeth before getting up and walking past the shocked Endeavor until turning his head to the shocked heroes. Sorry about the wall. Let my anger get to me there, he tells the heroes before leaving. Endeavor quickly regained composure. Deku may have the looks and mannerisms of a childish man-baby, but behind that false facade is the most powerful being on this planet. Meanwhile, fellow heroes share a similar look of shock and surprise at what had just occurred in front of them. Midoriya had returned back in time as the students decided their teams. Team 1. Shoto Todoroki. Momo Yaoyorozu. Mei Hatsum. Denki. Kaminari. Team 2. Ochako Uraraka. Hitoshi Shinso. Tinya Ida. Fumikage Tokoyami. Team 3. Katsuki Bakugo. Ejiru Kirishima. Hantasiro. Mina Ishido. Team 4. Minoru Mineta. Mizo Shoji. Tsuyu Azui. Team 5. Toru Hagakure. Hyokujiro. Rikido Sato. Koji Koda. Team 6. Nido Monoma. Kozai Tsuburaba. Sunkaibara. Shinhai Kurwaro. Team 7. Mashareo Ojiro. Pony Tsunatori. Nairinjiki Shota. Yugo Aoyama. Team 8. Itsuka Kendo. Reiko Yanagi. Setsuna Tokeichi. Kanoko Komori. Team 9. Yui Kodai. Kojiro Bondo. Manga Fukudashi. Team 10. Tagaru Kamakiri. Hiryu Rin. Jirota Shishida. This should be interesting and really chaotic, Izuku thought to himself as the match began. In a dark room, All Might, Present Mike, Aizawa, and Principal Nizu enter in suits where they sit in front of a bunch of government officials. Usually this would have been discussed with just hero staff, but due to the intensity of the situation and what kind of threat they are talking about, it needed to be discussed with the higher-ups. Do you know why we call this meeting? Asked one of the main board of directors. Yes, it's to do with the whereabouts of All for One, All Might said. His usual optimistic attitude was instead replaced with a sense of dread. He still remembered what that monster did to Nana. Indeed, then we are aware of our intention to send a team of heroes to raid his base of operation and finally defeat that monster. The man said, shocking some heroes in the room. Wait, a group of heroes? No, just send me, please. I don't want to see any hero give their live for my cause. All Might declares. We believe you that you can take all for one All Might, but you aren't considering all the other villains who could help gang up on you with who knows what kind of quirks, the man said, explaining his reasoning. Yes, we have already got Kimui Woods, Endeavor Mirko, Gang Orca, and a few others are already up for the task, and we are awaiting for more options, another exec said, going through his notes. While there is the second-year student Izuku Midoriya. He just got his provisional license not so long ago, and his power is exceptional, well beyond most pro heroes, Izawa comments. Why yes, we have considered Izuku Midoriya for sure, the head exec said. All Might gulped. He didn't want Midoriya involved in this as it was his fight, but he couldn't underestimate his power. Yes, Izuku Midoriya's growth from 1 year at UA is incredible. I have personally trained and sparred with him on multiple occasions, and I have reason to believe that Deku is stronger than me, All Might admits to the shock of many heroes around me. But he's just a second-year student. No way he went from barely being able to use his quirk without destroying his body to being above your level. Present Mike says in shock. Yeah, that troubled child's growth is exponential, and I fear that he won't even reach a ceiling to his power, Izawa replies, fearing that Deku's power had no limits to how strong he could become. Does he even have a limiter? We should also consider support heroes. Pure Brute can only get you so far, so perhaps Best Jeanist and Emi Aoki from Class 2A? She has proven herself to be a reliable battlefield support, and healer Present Mike also suggested. What about Tenko Shimura? He's the second strongest in the class and a good hero partner for Midoriya, All Might spoke up again. Some whispers were shared among the board of directors before the main one began to speak again. Why yes, we have considered Mr. Shimura, but we have concerns about his quirk and his control over it. Especially is past, the man said, obviously referring to the incident involving his family, which touched a nerve in All Might. All Might had essentially become the boy's adoptive father, trying his very best to balance taking care of Tenko and also the overwhelming work expected by the number one hero. But he's changed. He's undergone special training to make sure of that, and he's already an incredible hero, All Might argued. I would have to agree with All Might, as much as it pains me to say. Shimura is a powerful kid who has made his quirk his own over these past years, and he also works brilliantly as a team alongside Midoriya in hero work and training Izawa, but in two sharing his own thoughts. The group of men discuss among each other, clearly surprised by the number one hero and underground teacher of 2A's full support for Shimura. All right, we'll consider it, the man stated, clearly a good sign as the meeting soon comes to an end, but the struggle was only beginning for the heroes as they must tackle raiding and defeating the most powerful villain of all time, All for One. As All Might leaves the conference room, he steps out of the building and looks up at the sky. Tenko, many people don't believe you, but I do. So please, I know you have it in you to become one of the greatest heroes of all time and make Nana proud, he says to himself, speaking as if Tenko is right in front of him. Trivia. Tenko uses makeup to cover the scars on his skin. You helped him a bit in learning some makeup, so he doesn't totally look like an idiot. Izuku Midoriya and Tenko Shimura are currently hanging in the park, currently bored out of their minds. I'm so bored, Tenko says, face planting into the lunch table. Yeah, I guess so, nothing ever goes on now, Midoriya says with his hand on his chin. Any movies? Tenko asks. Nah, unless you want to watch Dragon Ball Evolution again, Midoriya cheekily replied. And no way, Tenko shrieks at the thought of them seeing that movie again. That's when you walks past where Midoriya's eyes brighten. Yo, Takayama, he says, waving to get her attention. Oh great, just my luck, Izuku and Tenko. What's wrong with you two, you asked. She was still agitated by the ball throwing incident, but she calmed her nerves. We're painfully bored with nothing to do, Tenko says, his voice muffled. Unless you want to hang out? Izuku brightens up at his own idea. Curse, you two are helpless without me. Fine, we'll hang out, you sighs. Yay. Tenko and Izuku jump off the table and cuddle you together. Grr, give me a break, I can't believe my social life is stuck with you two, you groans as she is hugged by the both of them. Aw, come on, you love us. Tenko teases. Fine, you're tolerable, I guess, you says as they walk into town until they make it into the arcade. Oh, arcades. We haven't been here in ages, Midoriya says happily as they enter the low-key dark blue lightning of the arcades, as they had so many memories of playing against each other, ending in them all getting competitive once they started making bets for each other. One time, Takayama challenged Tenko to a fighting game, saying that if she wins, then Shimura would have to help her and Ryuko on a shopping spree. Usually this would have been Shimura's bread and butter, but Takayama spammed a move, which totally cornered Shimura's character, which led to his defeat. He made true to his promise, and was dragged along carrying all of their bags as they shopped for what seemed to be an eternity for Tenko. Okay, now Midoriya remembers why they stopped coming here. They walk towards a set of dance machines at the back of the arcade. Here, this is perfect, Yu says, chuckling almost evilly as she walks up to the machine and then points back at Midoriya with her eyes glowing purple with determination. Izuku, Midoriya, I challenge you to a dance battle, she declares. A dance battle? Said Midoriya, confused. Yes, I'm gonna kick you, but at this game as payback for you hitting me with that ball at the beach, she says, slightly angry. But it was only an accident, Tenko says, still shocked that she is still annoyed by that. I don't care, payback is payback for hitting my face and breaking my shades. So is the strongest student in UA gonna fight me, or is he gonna whimper out of the challenge by a girl? You teases. Well, alright, I guess I'll beat anything you throw at me, Takayama. Midoriya says with a grin forming on his face as he points his thumb up at himself. That's Vegeta's technique. Midoriya approached the dance machine, throwing his blazer to the side as he stretches himself, getting ready to dance battle Yu, who is on the dance arcade machine next to him as the battle starts. Sometime later, Izuku pants as he can barely hold onto the bars, feeling exhausted by doing all of those dances and stretches, while Takayama is still easily outpacing and dancing to the utter shock of Tenko. No, I can still. Midoriya tries pulling himself back up, but falls onto the floor. Alright, you win, Midoriya says, lying on the ground, while you can only smirk in her victory as she walks up to him and places her foot on his stomach. Haha, look, citizens, as Mount Lady has slain the wretched green gremlin Deku and became the #1 hero. Bask me with your love and money, she declares, living out her fantasy. Okay, maybe she's having a little too much fun with this, Tenko thinks to himself as he watches the scene unfold in front of him. Midoriya was forced to give her back rubs whenever she requested it for the rest of the day. Sometime later, Class 2A was back in the familiar classes of UA, where classes were going as usual after the students were allowed to have a little break. Welcome back, class, nice to see you all back, Aizawa said, bored as ever aside from some exceptions, Aizawa said, looking at Midoriya and Shimura, who just waved at their teacher. Morning, Aizawa-sensei. Midoriya excisedly waves, which Aizawa could only sigh at. Izuku, Midoriya, and Tenko Shimura have become his so-called trouble student, Izuku Trouble Student 1 and Tenko Trouble Student 2 respectively, due to the crazy stunts they perform and cause more problems for everyone involved. Thankfully, Yu somewhat keeps the two on the leash for him, but even she can be trouble for him, especially with her quirk, while Aoki seems to be Tenko's weakness, as his crush on her was obvious to everyone, even the janitor. Alright, everyone, get changed into your hero costumes. We're doing some morning training today, Aizawa says, as students already started leaving their seats to the locker rooms. Except you three, Aizawa pointed at 3 people before they could even get out of their seats, that being Midoriya, Shimura, and Aoki. Oh, what's wrong, Mr. Aizawa? Aoki asked her teacher. Follow me, you 3, he says, leaving the classroom as the 3 go to follow him. They walk for a while until stopping in front of Principal Nizu's office. Aizawa bangs the door and waits a couple of seconds until opening the door for the 3 of them. They walk through while Aizawa stayed outside. Oh well, if it isn't the star students of 2A, Izuku, Midoriya, Tenko Shimura, and Emi, Aoki Nizu says, taking a sip of his tea. If we don't mind asking, why are we here? Tenko asks, trying not to sound rude. Is it about when we fought the Crusher Corps? No, wait, then why would Aoki be here? Midoriya brainstorms ideas. No, but I have to admit you two's fights against the Crusher Corps was impressive and show how professional you are, Nizu states before getting into the real deal. You see, we have tracked down a major villain to his hideout under the name of All for One, Nizu stated. That name sent shivers down the spines of Izuku and Tenko, as they know that name all too well. Meanwhile, Aoki is confused. Wait, All for One, who is he? Aoki asked innocently. All for One isn't exactly a public name and is regarded more as a folk legend than an actual villain. Oh well, you see, Aoki. All for One is one of the most powerful villains out there and has the ability to steal quirks. Nizu explains the best he can without spilling the beans on the major details. But why do we 3 specifically need to know this? Tenko asked. Well, it's because we have nominated you three to help in the raid, as it won't be an easy task without the muscle and support you three could offer, Nizu explains. Izuku Midoriya, you're one of the most powerful heroes with power to rival All Might. Tenko Shimura, your quirk, while dangerous, you have since trained it to become an amazingly powerful quirk that could shift the battle in our favor. Emi Aoki, your healing quirk makes you have potential to become the next recovery girl. Perhaps even greater, and your battlefield support as a battle medic could allow for you save many lives and keep us in the battle. Nizu explains the three's quirks, explaining why they were chosen in particular to do this. Izuku grips his hand tight before finally speaking. All right, Principal Nizu, as my role as a hero, I will perform this role to the best of my abilities. Midoriya says determined, which makes Tenko smirk looking at him. If he's in, then so am I. I ain't gonna let him leave me in the dust just yet, Tenko says with a grin. Emi smiles at the two's constantly fueling friendly rivalry before going back to the matter at hand and thinking about what she will do if people are going to die. Because I wasn't there then, I would have no dignity in calling myself a hero. I accept, she declares to the principal. Some time had passed since the school day had ended. Everyone returned to the dorms and enjoyed their free time. Well, except for one Midoriya Izuku, who is standing outside in view of the gray turning night. Hey Izuku. The ninth turned his head to see Tenko walking up to him with a bottle of water in his hand for both himself and Midoriya. Oh, thanks Midoriya, thanks, as he grabs the bottle in his hand. What got you thinking out here at this time of day? Tenko asked, standing by his side in the sky starring. Oh, it's just about the whole mission with All for One, you know. I've been training for this moment for almost 2 years now, and I hope I can, Midoriya says, shrugging his shoulders. I get that. Crazy that at some point All Might was going to make me his successor, but thank Kami he chose you. You can use it better than anyone else, Tenko compliments. Izuku chuckles at the compliment. You're pretty cool yourself, you know. Being the strongest people in the class behind me, of course, Midoriya says back. Is that an ego I see? If you really have come away from that stuttering mess from Aldra, Tenko says. Izuku chuckles and shrugs, just being honest. It's what my mom raised me to be, he says, sipping a can. Ain't like you were any better, honestly. You were the quiet kid who played on his Game Boy Advanced at the back of class. Hey, I was grinding Pokemon Ruby, and that was better than any stupid math lesson, Tenko says, shrugging it off, which makes Midoriya chuckle. No wonder he failed math class. Tenko put his hand on Izuku's shoulder. Hey, let's get our minds off this All for One thing, alright? Let's play some Mario Kart and rest easy knowing we will beat the snot out of that fraud, Tenko says. Izuku looks up to the sky one last time before nodding. Yeah, you're probably right. Let's go, Midoriya says as they walk back inside of the dorms. Together they could take on any threat which can be thrown at them, right? The Cavalry race had finally come after many minutes of anticipation and preparation, with Midoriya staring down at the students now together with their teams. Now let's go, yelled Present Mike, and Midnight said start. All teams began attacking and defending, mostly all of them having a target in mind, which was Team Todoroki, as they had the big 10 billion point bandana wrapped around Todoroki's head. Hold on. Todoroki told his teammates as he activated the jetpack, which May had put on him prior to the start of the battle. Momo and Denki also had heavy metal boots on, as they were lifted high up by as they glided across the arena. Yaoyorozu, Todoroki nodded to the black-haired girl, who nodded oh yes. She used her creation quirk to create some binoculars and gave them to Todoroki, so he could get a good understanding of what's going on in the ring and area. Seems like it's every team for themselves down there. Be careful, everyone, Todoroki says to the group as they glide back onto the ground. They were suddenly ambushed from all angles as the floor around them was covered in purple ball. What the? Don't tell me, Kaminari shrieks in shock as he stares at what's in front of him. Suddenly, they see Shoji walk at them with him carrying Tsu and Mineta inside. Ha, face the wrath of my ball. Mineta yells in pride as suddenly Tsu's tongue reached out to try and grab the bandana from Todoroki. Team Todoroki tried to move, but they realized they stepped in the ball, making them stuck, which made Shoto have to dodge the tongue himself, holding onto the headband, just in case Tsu pulls some trick. In a panic, Todoroki started the jetpack again, lifting into the air, but at the cost of the bottom of Momo's metal shoe. Whoa, that's something I gotta patch in the next version, Mei says to herself as they lift off. But Kugo's team, who looked from afar at the sight of them flying away quickly, tried to catch up. Oh no, you don't, icy hot. Bakugo screams as he used his explosions to fire himself in the air, leaving the rest of his teammates in the dust as he went to attack Todoroki. We ain't done yet, Bakugo says, preparing an explosion in his hand, which made Shoto create an ice shield around his arm to protect from the blast, but he and by extension the rest of the team were launched back. Bakugo, not thinking this through, was now falling in the air before Zero caught him with his tape. Hey, gotcha. Only you would pull something like that, Zero chuckled. Grr, shut up. Me and Icy Hot aren't finished yet, Bakugo yelled back until suddenly his headband was suddenly grabbed and taken by a blonde blur. It was that extra from 1B. Has so much for the invincible class, 1A. Monoma chuckled, waving the wristband in the air. Gore, change of plans. We're gonna kill that guy. Bakugo yells as he and his team made a 180 towards the 1B students. As expected, everyone is going towards the holder of the 3 million points. Can they survive on the onslaught? Present Mike yelled. Meanwhile, Izuku and you are watching the broadcast on the television together when Vlad King came in with 3 cups of tea in his hand. Thanks, you says, grabbing it more maturely. Oh, Vladdy. Thanks, Midoriya said as he grabbed the cup. No problem, and don't call me that, Vlad said, almost sounding weirded out by the Vladdy nickname. No promises, Midoriya says as he sips the cup of tea, only to realize it's way too hot. Hot. Midoriya cringes back at the heat now on his tongue. Heyu chuckles to herself at his pain as Vlad sits down on the couch next to them both. Vlad sits down and looks at the TV, seeing Kaminari firing a bolt of lightning towards Team Uraraka, which was deflected by Tokoimi's dark shadow. You students are doing well, Midoriya. You must have trained them well, especially in how you managed to break the young Todoroki out of his shell, Vlad mentions. Midoriya shrugs. I suppose he was pretty stubborn at first, but after the whole USJ thing it was a lot easier to knock it into him, he says, chuckling. Yeah, the USJ 13th told me what happened there, Vlad said. Still weird how they somehow knew where and when your students were coming, you says, thinking herself. Do you think someone hacked the UA systems? Or hell, maybe there is a traitor among us, Vlad thinks. Midoriya chuckles as he places the tea on Hia's lap. Oh really, huh? Sounds fun, Midoriya says. Are you not concerned in the slightest, Midoriya? What if it was someone close to you like a student or friend? What if it was me? You asks, appalled that is uncaring towards the whole thing. Ain't no way you would be the traitor, you. I respect you and your heroism and all, but you're just a bit too weak to think you could pull the... Before Midoriya could respond back, you instantly threw her cup of tea at him with it spilling everywhere as it's thrown at Izuku, only for the liquid to instantly vanish as electric spurs around Midoriya, essentially evaporating it into the air. Wow, Midoriya said, smiling like an idiot. You stares angrily as she crosses her arms. Gur, thought I got you there, but I guess you and your stupidly overpowered quirk got that covered, huh? She said, still angry. How do you even do that? I fail to understand how punching hard can equate to an electric barrier, Vlad asks. Izuku chuckles. It's quite simple, really. You know how I create little zappy zaps when I turn on my quirk, right? I basically trained my danger sense ability and body to work and co together, meaning once danger sense detects any threat, my body subconsciously creates a sorta electric barrier that protects me from incoming threats, Izuku explains. But enough about me. This is about the students after all. And look at your students, Vlad. Izuku drew their attention to Monoma, who is currently angering with Bakugo, as he suddenly throws an explosion back at him, shocking the angry blonde, which made Midoriya chuckle. They're giving mine a little run for their money, especially that copy quirk kid, Midoriya said, looking interested in what the other blonde's power with the ability to copy seemingly every quirk for a short period of time. I wonder if he could copy one for all. Not stupid question. If he tried, he would detonate like a nuclear bomb if he tried copying Izuku's version of One for All. Back to the battle, Todoroki's team managed to lie low for a while. We should be able to wait out the time, Momo says to her team, until suddenly they hear the revving of engines. Todoroki turns his head to see Team Uraraka with Ida looking like he was revving his engines. Ready to roll, Uraraka? Ida asked. Let's go, Ida. Ochako said, smirking, as mere seconds later Team Uraraka exploded in speed towards himself, where Todoroki tried shielding himself by creating a wall of ice, but thanks to Ida's sheer speed there pierced through, shattering the ice, but it was enough for Team Todoroki to narrowly dodge Ida's attack. Todoroki scoffs at their attack. We're not gonna just give it to you. Freeze, Shinso said, which made Todoroki to suddenly stop and lay still to the shock of their friends as Uraraka tried reaching out to grab the headband, but was suddenly hit in the head by a metal staff, which also happened to hit Todoroki, knocking the icy hot out of his mind control, and instantly respond by creating a ring of fire in front of Team Uraraka. Damn it. We were nearly there, Ida. Do you have any juice left in you? Shinso asks. Unfortunately not. They'll be out of juice for the rest of the battle, Ida said, disappointed in himself. Tokoimi then responded, maybe we could. Time's up. Looks like Team Todoroki has maintained their seat at the top. Present Mike yelled to the utterly defeated look of Team Uraraka. Bakugo jumped off of his teammates' backs, making sure to step on Ciro's head on the way down now. Yelped the tape quirk user at being used as a stepping stone down by the blonde. Got him it. Yelled Bakugo, screaming as usual at his failure to beat Todoroki once again. Well, at least we ain't that salty. Shinso comments to his team. Agreed, Ida said, looking away with his steamed glasses covering his expression. Meanwhile, Todoroki was wondering where Momo had went off to. He swears she was with the rest of the team just a minute ago. Meanwhile, the 1A girls were just leaving the changing rooms now in cheerleading uniforms. You sure we were supposed to wear these? Mina asked Momo. I'm sure of it. They seem like a UA tradition after all, Momo said, adjusting her clothing until suddenly they saw Midoriya-sensei, who was just seemingly walking around until he noticed them. Oh, hi girls, what are you wearing? Midoriya said, pointing to the cheerleading uniforms. Oh, these were part of the sports festival event, which Kaminari and Mineta told us about, Momo said with her pom-poms in her hands. Midoriya looked a bit grossed out until he suddenly started chuckling. Girls, I don't think you should trust Mineta and Kaminari of all people with such a strange idea, especially with their, let's say, dirty minds. The clocks in the girls' heads finally click with their sentence as they cover their faces in embarrassment. Oh my god, Jiro said, utterly embarrassed. I can't believe I fell for those two's trick. Momo fell to her knees in embarrassment and was comforted by Uraraka. Don't worry, we didn't know any better, Uraraka said, trying to help her friend. That's it, I'm gonna kick there, but Jiro said, pulling up her invisible sleeves ready to kick the electric and grape-haired boys to Egypt and back, so hard the bisexual vampires could hear it. Nana, I have a better idea, girls. Midoriya smirks with a plan in his head. Say, Yaoyorozu, do you have enough energy left in you to make an adult male-sized one? Denki laughed with anticipation. The girls totally fell for it. And he can see all the girls look totally hot in cheerleading uniforms. Imagine Momo in that, or Uraraka, or Jiro, especially Jiro. Mineta smirked alongside him, but with a hint of nervousness. He promised himself that he wouldn't do these kind of things, but Denki won him over on it, and he couldn't really hide his excitement at seeing the girls in cheerleading uniforms. They started to hear steps come out of the changing rooms, and they jumped in excitement. They can't wait to see them in all of their glory. How their plan played out smoothly, and, hey, boys and girls, how's this for some fan service? Suddenly Deku jumped out, but not in his hero costume, but the UA cheerleader uniform made appropriate for his size by Momo, of course, so he isn't flashing everyone, although he is the green flash. Kaminari and Mineta look in shock as if their soul left their body at the cringe and shock of Deku in the cheerleading uniform. What the huh? Mount Lady said, spitting out her drink at seeing Midoriya in such an outfit on the TV for everyone to see. Aizawa face-palmed at his old student's antics as Present Mike explained the scene to everyone. Well, boys, girls, and the rainbow in between, it seems like the number 3 hero Deku has went all fan service for everyone, he says, trying to maintain his composure himself at the sight in front of him. Bakugo looks in disgust himself, looking as if he was about to puke. Todoroki looked away and cringed at the scene. Come on, girls. Let's cheer on 1A. Go 1-1-I, if you can't do it, no one can. Midoriya jumped in the air, giving the stadium a scene, while the girls emerged from the tunnel, some wearing the cheerleading uniform like Toru and Uraraka, who joined in with Midoriya, while some put their PE uniforms back on like Momo and Jiro. As much Jiro hated to admit it, she was grateful for what Midoriya-sensei is doing and pulling the attention away from them and bringing payback on the boys. Speaking of which, she walked up to Kaminari and slapped him with her Kordzao. Kaminari said, yelping in pain as he feels the mark on his face. Shinso walked up to Uraraka, looking a bit red. Whoa, Uraraka, so this is where you've been since the end of the event, he says, still taking it all in. Uraraka chuckles. Oh yeah, first it was a trick by Kaminari and Mineta, but Deku joined in, and his charisma kinda got to me and made me join in, she said, rubbing the back of her head. Mina pulled her arms around the two, pulling them together. Hell, look at you two lovebirds getting all flustered together. she says, smiling with both of them, looking away with Uraraka being a lot more obvious at her embarrassment. Meanwhile, Deku and Toru dance in the background without a care in the world. Well, folks, the segment of the sports festival is here. President Mike announced, which gained the attention of everyone. The final event will be a one-on-one fighting tournament, where opponents will battle each other in multiple rounds until there is only one person left. President Mike explained to the audience and contestants with them shortly after coming up with a list. Shinso Hitoshi v. Nito Monoma. Seriously, that creep? Asked Shinso, looking almost grossed out seeing Monoma's sarcastic grin. What's wrong, 1A? Scared of a little competition and taking all the attention? Nito replied smugly, putting his hand through his blonde hair. Shoto Todoroki v. Hanada Shiro. Huh, you're kidding, right? That's a death sentence. Shiro said angrily while Todoroki didn't care. Kozai Tsuburaba v. Denki Kaminari. Let's try our best. Although I'm confident in my abilities in beating you, Kozai said, getting right in Denki's face. Wosher dude, Denki said, caught a bit off guard by his competitiveness. Mei Hatsum v. Tinya Ida. Ooh, an opportunity to test my babies in battle. Mei says, excited while Ida holds his glasses up. Mina Ishido v. Yugo Aoyama. Mina grits her teeth. Ah, yeah, you're going down. She declares to Aoyama as he smugly holds a rose in his hand. Ah, well, you must be mistaken, as you will tremble before my twinkling. Yuga declares as he twinkles a bit. Momo Yaoyorozu v. Fumikage Tokoyami. Momo looks to Tokoyami. She took note of his quirk's power, probably being the third strongest student in the class behind Bakugo and Todoroki, but she wasn't one to give up. I'll give it my best, she declares with Tokoyami, giving her a respectful nod. Sunkaibara v. Ejiru Kirishima. I know that Monoma guy gives our class a bad look to you guys, but let's try our best, alright? Sun says, turning to Kirishima, who nods. Ah, thanks, you seem like a pretty nice guy. Sorry for Baku bro too, Kirishima said, chuckling while rubbing the back of his head. Ochako Uraraka v. Katsuki Bakugo. Who? Bakugo said, not knowing who that is. Huh. Ochako said, stunned. They literally fought against each other in training. Does Bakugo really have that bad of a memory, or is his insult names just a cover-up for him being bad at names? Midoriya looked down from the crowds with a smile, thankfully back in his hero suit as he admired their determination to overcome their opponents and prove themselves. 2008. There was a tense feeling surrounding all of UA that morning, a feeling of dread and of uncertainty as three people walked out of the gates. The green-haired star student of UA and the 9th user of One for All, Izuku Midoriya. The grandson of the 7th and 2nd strongest UA student Tenko Shimura. The battle medic protege of recovery girl, Emi Aoki. Izuku gripped his scarf with a nervousness surrounding him. Everyone got everything? He asked his fellow classmates. Yeah, pretty much, Tenko says, adjusting his gloves. Yeah, packed up any medical equipment we may need, Aoi mentions with her medical bag on her waist. The three of them finally reached a black limousine and climbed in. It was an agent from Endeavor's agency who was requested to pick them up for the special mission. The car ride was tense, little to none of Midoriya and Tenko's cocky quips or Tenko's blushing over Aoki. It was just mostly silent all the way through until the car finally made a stop at the Hero Public Safety Commission. They exited the car and walked through the busy building until reaching a room where they saw gathering all the best heroes of all different powers and sizes, including some familiar faces like Endeavor, Best Jeanist, Kami Woods, Sir Naitai, Eraserhead, Ryukyu, and much more, and of course last, but not least, the #1 hero and symbol of peace, All Might. Midoriya, Aoki, and Shimura, you're finally here, All Might said with gladness, seeing his star students. About time, I say, Enji scuffs. Meanwhile, Ryuko walks up to Aoki and ruffles her hair. It's a good job we have you here. You're gonna do well, she says, smirking. Back in UA, Ryuko was basically an older sister figure to the first years and helped Takayama deal with Midoriya and Shimura's antics. Enough blabbering. We have a villain to take down, Endeavor commented, breaking the friendly interaction. As much I wouldn't want to break your little reunion, I would have to agree with Endeavor, as we have more pressing issues at the moment, Aizawa said, backing up Enji, which made the teens stop what they were doing and listen. The room darkened as Sir Naitai stepped in front with a whiteboard being moved in front for everyone to see. We had found the location of All for One's base of operation, which also happens to be where he resides. Also, he says, pointing the board with a photo attached showing the building, which seemingly blended into plain sight. The best course of action would be a blitzkrieg sort of maneuver with All Might leading the charge while the other heroes fight off as lackeys, while All Might can confront all for one alone, except for maybe the assistance of Deku Night Eye, explains, making Inji scoff knowing he is playing the support role to his rival, well, more accurately, one-sided rivalry. You will be put into teams as All for One will be sure to have a large army with a large variety of muscle and powers, so teams will be most helpful, Night Eye said, as he pulled up a graph showing the different teams. Team All Might, Izuku Deku Midoriya. Team Endeavor, Ryukyu. Team Entropy, Tenko Entropy Shimura. Emi Hira, Aoki. Team Night Eye, Zernai. Kami Woods, Eraserhead, among many other hero groups. Aoki turned and smiled. Guess it's us two, huh? She giggled. Hey, yeah, Tenko says nervously with a hint of a blush at Aoki, but under that he was more nervous but determined to keep Aoki safe, as she is the healer of the entire mission. Her down could be a catastrophe for the entire mission. All right, let's set off, everyone. The raid will begin tonight, Night Eye says to the heroes who are all preparing for the worst. Finally, after much preparation, the raid was about to begin as the heroes closed in on the villain's hideout. 2 villains were guarding the door. It seemed to be just another boring night on watch duty. Usually this would be another boring day on watch duty, but this is no normal day. The 2 guards suddenly hear a knock on the door. Who's that? Asked one of the guards. I dunno. Boss didn't say we were having visitors at this time, one of the guards said as he pressed his ear against the door. Who is it? He said to the mysterious knocker. Hey, did someone order a pizza? Said the mysterious voice to the villains, who looked around wondering which one of them ordered one, with everyone shrugging. Hey, just take the pizza. We're villains, we take, without giving one goon, said smirking. The other villain shrugged. Well, alright, I guess ill. His sentence was cut off by when the entire wall breaking open as All Might burst it open. Smash! All Might yelled as he punched and stood in the rubble of the former wall. Standing behind him was the rest of the heroes who charged in. Ga heroes! Attack! Yelled the villains as they all prepared their quirks and weapons against the upcoming wave of heroes charging into the base. Eraserhead charged forward at a villain with 2 drill hands for a quirk. The villain noticed and tried to slash at the underground hero, but his move was way too predictable for the hero as he dodged it and used his erasure quirk to make the drill hand stop spinning. He couldn't really erase a physical quirk, but that should do the trick, as he then trapped the villain in his scarf and threw him into a wall, knocking the villain out. Aizawa stood up before narrowly dodging a blade attached to a chain being thrown in the direction of his head as it broke the wall behind him. Ah, that's a shame. I really thought I would get you, said the villain emerging from the darkness, the person with long purple hair and a black eye mask. Great, Aizawa muttered under his breath as he got into fighting position as the purple villain smirked, but I'm not done yet. They yell as suddenly they pulled the chain back and by extension the blade as it nearly hit Aizawa, but he knew what trick they were playing at and grabbed the blade before it could hit him. Hey, no fair, the villain said childishly, pulling with their might, but Aizawa scowled. If you want me so bad, he said as he grabbed onto the chain and pulled it back. The villain, not expecting such strength, was pulled alongside the chain, and when they reached Aizawa, he punched the villain straight in the face, causing them to fall unconscious. Geez, kids these days, he scoffs as he sees Present Mike and Night Eye appear. What took you so long? Aizawa asked, semi-annoyed. After all, being in teams was the whole plan. Sorry, Shota. We got caught up in the way here, he lightly chuckles in a half-joking, half-apologizing manner. Indeed, we best keep our guard up in here. Who knows how many villains All for One has, Night Eye says, keeping his guard up at all times. Meanwhile, All Might and Izuku were running through the villain's base, defeating some villains as they went to find where All for One was, until the 2 of them stumbled upon a plain wooden door at the end of the hallway. The 2 of them gulp at what could come next as All Might takes a step forward and opens the door. Once inside, they see it's a normal room. The room was decorated in old-fashioned wallpaper and furniture, while an old-fashioned gramophone plays. It's been a long, long time. While there, he sits in his fancy chair and suit. All for One. It's about time you 2 showed up. I was getting bored waiting for you and your little boy wonder to appear that I decided to entertain myself with some old music from my youth. Although I do enjoy the occasional modern music, like some Kanye, for example, All for One said, chuckling at the 2, who don't seem entertained in the slightest. All Might and Izuku started circling All for One, sitting in the chair like a predator and its prey. "This all ends today, All for One," All Might said, gritting his teeth. "It all ends today, huh? PFF, I haven't heard that before," he said sarcastically. All the previous one for all users said the same. "Yes, but this time there are two of us," Izuku replied, green electricity surrounding him. Yes, you seem to come in pairs now, which is rather annoying, coming to destroy me once and for all, or whatever. You must know that so well, don't you, Yagi? Now it's your turn to be like her." All for One shrugs. Suddenly, images of Nana and her deaths at the hands of All for One go through All Might's brain, remembering what he lost and what he took from him, his mentor. All for One. All Might lost his patents going in to punch All for One, with the entire room being destroyed in a single punch, nearly catching Deku off guard if it wasn't for his danger sense. When the dust settled, All Might's hand was inside of the chair All for One was sitting on. Clearly was going for the kill, but he seemed to have vanished until All Might could hear the slow clapping of All for One from up above, airwalking in the sky. "Guess you didn't like that, didn't you, Eighth? If you're lucky, you could follow in the footsteps of your mentor and leave that green-haired brat without a mentor." All for One laughs as red electricity appears around him. Izuku and All Might each have a sweat drop as they power up to face this generational threat. "I've prepared in advance against you too. That Midoriya brat's growth is astounding, and how he can use all the previous users' quirks." All for One says, eyeing Midoriya. "Maybe we are on in the same in how we can use others' quirks for our own." All for One suggests. "I'm nothing like you," Izuku said, almost sounding offended by the suggestion as he powers up even more. "We'll see with time." All for One chuckles, now with enough with the talking. "Come at me," All for One suggests, as suddenly All Might and Deku charged at him at faster than light speeds, even surprising the symbol of fear for a second, until catching both of their fists at the last moment, as he is then pushed back by a kick from Izuku, with him not even getting time to catch his breath before All Might punched him in the face. But All for One took the blow so he could charge his other hand with a bunch of strength enhancer quirks and punched the number one hero in the gut, causing vital fluid to be spat out of All Might, not before All for One grabbed him by the head and slammed his knee into him, sending falling back into the dirt. All for One managed to regain his composure, putting his tie back into normal position and dusting off his well-tailored suit, before suddenly smokescreen covered the area and a blur of lighting zoomed past him, knocking him off his feet. It was Deku. "What the? I can't see his movements," All for One says, looking around for even a blur to see while still falling midair. All of this was happening in the span of picoseconds. Deku grunted quickly. At light speed, he ran up the wall and jumped up into the sky, harnessing more power off One for All, before crashing down from above to deliver a devastating smash to All for One, cutting through any defense the villain tried to put up, and he used the recoil to jump into the sky again to deliver repeated blows before ending with a kick to the face, sending the villain flying into multiple buildings. All for One got up from the rubble and wiped his face to feel vital fluid on his fingertips, and he started laughing. "Ha ha ha, wow, amazing. I recognize what All Might saw in you now. Out of all the One for All users to have faced me over this century, there is no one who has wielded my brother's quirk better than you. I, All for One, declare you the strongest," he says, laughing, simply amazed that a young boy managed to such easily surpass his predecessors in such a short period of time. But Midoriya didn't look amused in the slightest. "But I'm not done, child, not in the slightest. I will prove that you are all beneath me," he says, as he suddenly activated all of his strength and power enhancers as his arms started bulking up. Izuku got into a fighting stance, preparing for the worst, but All Might stepped up, stretching as he sees the villain in front of him. "You're not alone, young Midoriya. We'll finish this together," he says, getting into a fighting stance alongside Midoriya, which made the green-haired boy smile. "Right," he says, as electricity surrounded him more potent than ever. The raid was chaos. Heroes and villains alike fighting with all of their unique quirks made it barely impossible to comprehend to anyone, but Emi Aoki tried her very best to be the team player, risking her life running around and tending to people's wounds. She quickly rushes across the destruction-riddled battleground, but suddenly, "Where do you think you're going?" says a villain with a sledgehammer, quick, ready to swing at Aoki. She was screeches in surprise, falling down, but suddenly Tenko swooped in to elbow the villain in the face, knocking them away, but Tenko grabs his hand and throws him into a wall. He quickly rushes to Aoki. Emi, you okay? You're not hurt, are you? Tenko says caringly to Aoki, looking for any signs of damage. I'm fine, Tenko, I promise. There are heroes who require my help still, she says, getting up determined to help people like a true hero. Right, I'll follow you just in case, Tenko says, holding on to her hand, blushing a little. Right. She gives a small smile before they walk through the ruins of the King of Villains base. Have you heard of the water hose duo? I haven't seen them since we came in here, Aoki asked as they walked. Can't say, I have to be honest, Tenko replies as they walk through the ruins of the base, as suddenly the two felt the earth beneath them shake. Cracks in the floor appeared and massive sinkholes appeared around the area. Whoa, what was that? Aoki said, shocked. It must be Izuku and All Might fighting all for one, says Tenko, gulping as he sees walls and floors around them break under them just by being close to the fight. Although Aoki swears she could hear something other than the earthquakes, sounds like someone's bashing something. Aoki and Tenko turn the corner and see in horror a villain in a red tank top and buff muscles, standing over the dead bodies of the water hose duo. God, they got a lucky hit on me, the villain said, covering his eye which was bleeding. Seems like they got one lucky hit in. You killed them, Tenko says, standing shocked. The villain chuckled, so? What is it to you? What you gonna do about it? He says, smugly preparing for a fight. Tenko feels a sweat drop go down his head. Aoki. Retrieve their bodies while I fight this monster, Tenko says angrily. Right. Aoki nods as Tenko dashes in to attack. Muscular smirks at the audacity of the hero to dare attack him as he activates his quirk and smashes the floor under him, which causes a small shockwave, which Tenko dodges in time as he lands a kick on the villain's neck, but he doesn't budge. Come on, that can't be all. Muscular says, gripping the leg Tenko had on his neck and gripped it hard, leading to Tenko letting out a scream before Muscular thrown him into a wall, which broke upon impact. Muscular chuckled, walking up to Tenko slowly. What's the matter? Are you really all talk and no bite? Well, I suppose I should take you out of your misery, he says as muscle mass gathers around his fist as he goes to finish off Tenko with one punch. Tenko suddenly stops it with two hands. Huh. Muscular says, surprised at Tenko's sudden strength. I get it, your quirk creates and enhances your muscles and gives you a stat increase. That means if you're careful, I can let loose, Tenko says, his red eyes glowing as suddenly the muscle around Muscular's arm started decaying. Huh. Muscular suddenly peeled back as to trying to stop the spread of the decay over his hand before quickly thinking, grabbing a large broken piece of metal and using that to cut off the muscle which was decaying, stopping the spread. Muscular panted, knees on the floor, recovering from the pain and dread that he was nearly turned to dust. For someone who seems to love the thrill of taking others' lives, you seem rather afraid to die, don't you? Tenko says, looking down at the villain with anger as he clenches his fist and smacks him across the face, sending him rolling in the dirt. Tenko falls to his knees, gripping his knee. That death grip on his leg earlier was still present. Muscular gets up, wiping his face, seeing a small piece of vital fluid. You know what? You're right. No more holding back on me, hero, he says as his massively buffs up and charges at him. Tenko grunts as he slams his hands into the ground, sending a wave of decay, but Muscular only smirks as he used his superior speed and agility to move out of the way, catching Tenko by surprise as he delivers a horrible punch to the gut, which makes the Shimura cough up vital fluid. Tenko tries to grip his arm, enacting decay, but Muscular only laughs as he grabs onto Shimura's head, intending to squish his skull. I wonder what will happen first, my arm decaying or your skull crushing. I have my bets on the latter. He smirks, squeezing it harder until suddenly a bright light blinds him. What in the? Distracted, he lets go off Shimura to guard his eyes as Tenko, before he can hit the ground, a mystery figure grabs him and rushes with him out of there. Tenko, you there? A quiet voice whispered to Tenko, his eyes slowly opening up to see Aoki looking over him with tears in her eyes. Tenko fully comes back to consciousness and sees his surroundings. They are standing behind a broken wall while Aoki is healing his injuries. Tenko tries standing up, but feels the pain in his stomach and falls back down. Hey, be careful. I'm still trying to heal you, Aoki says. What happened? Asked the tired Shimura, looking up at her. You were nearly gonna die to that monster, and I couldn't stand there and take it. It was like my legs moved on their own and used my flashbang to make our escape, Emi says while still trying to heal his wounds. I see, thank you, Emi. I don't know what I would do without you, Tenko says with a light blush. The statement also makes Emi blush a little. No problem, Tenko. Just doing my job, Emmy says warmly. Suddenly the two of them heard large footsteps approach them. No doubt it was Muscular coming to finish Tenko off. Hero, come on out, we were just starting to have a bit of fun, he chuckles, purposefully making the stomps of his feet louder and louder just to make him know he's close. Emmy holds her breath, putting her hand over Tenko's in order for him to not notice his panting. I know you around here somewhere, he says, circling the area. In fact, you're right here. Suddenly, he slams his fist through the wall where Tenko and Emmy were, but before he could hit them, Tenko suddenly grabbed Aoki and run out of there at top speed, running until suddenly stopping dead in his tracks as there was a massive sinkhole in front of them. Tenko, while weak, still pushes Emmy behind him to protect her from the incoming attack of Muscular, who walks towards them laughing. Ha 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 ha, finally. No more places to hide, Hero, just me, you and your little girlfriend, to add some tension, he says, chuckling. I won't let you go on any longer. Stopping trash like you is what heroism is all about, he says, getting into a fighting stance. He is still recovering from the last round, but his adrenaline and pure desire to protect the ones he loved is fueling his power to new heights. Muscular grins before charging in to attack Tenko, with the hero digging his feet into the ground as he puts his hands forward and stopped Muscular from slamming his fists into him and Emmy. A struggle began. Tenko pressed against the cliff with Emmy holding onto his waist for dear life, while Muscular pushes harder and harder, but Tenko stands his ground. His decay quickly started become evident around Muscular's muscles, but the question was what was going to happen first? Tenko and Emmy being pushed into abyss, or Muscular completely decaying? Ha ha ha, that's it, I win. Muscular gloats about his seeming advantage over Tenko, who gritted his teeth out of annoyance. Shut up, Tenko grunts out, decaying quickly, going up to Muscular's upper humerus. What? Muscular looked in shock as the decay became faster and faster up his arm, to the point that Muscular could no longer try to hope to prevent the spread. Suddenly, a newfound power overwhelms Tenko. His hair turns from a dark black to a sudden bleach white. I said shut up. With a roar, suddenly both of Muscular's arms turned to dust, left without a trace. Ah! Muscular yelled in intense pain, the pupils of his eyes no longer visible as he fell to the floor. Tenko's quirk had awakened and allowed him to reign victorious over Muscular. But at the same time, the floor beneath them broke, causing Aoki from behind to lose her footing. Tenko! Yelled Emmy in fear for her own life. Tenko, with his hands still gripping the falling dust of Muscular's hands, quickly turned around in a panic. Ha Emi. He yelled out for her name as he jumped to catch her hand. He reached his hand out and successfully grabbed Emmy's hand. But as he grabbed onto Emmy's hand, he remembered. He still had his quirk active from his fight with Muscular, and he had no time to think smart and rushed to do what anybody else could, grab onto their hand with all 5 of his fingers. In horror, he sees in front of his eyes Emmy turned to dust, and in her final moments before death, gave Tenko a smile, as if she acknowledged his mistake and told him it was all right. But Tenko didn't care. It was his fault. He killed her, the one he loved, like he did his family. He saw as her dust fell down the large sinkhole and fell down to his knees, vomiting out of disgust of his own unintentional actions. Meanwhile, Muscular, who no longer had any arms, legs, or even much of a torso and head left, chuckled at the sight. He weakly chuckled, knowing that he got the last laugh. Ah, look at you. You're no better than a villain like me now, killing such an innocent girl like her through your own stupidity. You heroes are all the same. Before Muscular could even finish his sentence, faster than he could perceive, Tenko appeared in front of him and karate chopped his head off, not giving him the satisfaction of dying to decay. As much as he hated it, as much as he hated him for everything he did, he was right. He is no better than a villain. The legendary battle between the 3 strongest people on the planet is seemingly reaching its climax. The 3 stand in the destroyed battlefield with torn, battle-damaged clothing and injuries all over, panting from the exhaustion the battle had taken on the 3 of them. You 2 are awfully annoying and persistent, all for one, standing above them on a small hill, states while tearing off what remained of his jacket now left in his white buttoned shirt. Of course, I will keeping fighting till my last breath if it means destroying you once and for all. All Might declared weakly, putting his fists up, panting. He's at his limit, practically bluffing in the state he's in. Of course, you heroes are all the same, all for one, says, holding out his hand where yellow energy was being gathered. Once fired at the two of them, the two dodged out of the way of the light beam, but to their surprise, the beams of light twisted and started following them. All Might, watch out. They track your movements. Midoriya gives a heads up as he narrowly dodges the laser. All For One chuckles as he fires further blasts from his hands. Go on. I want to see you two run. All For One chuckled. Deku flew around the tracking lasers with quick precision thanks to his danger sense and ability to fly, which allowed him to have an easier time compared to All Might until suddenly. Suddenly Izuku felt a sudden pain in his head, which made him physically cringe back, and stop mid-air, which made the beams of light collide on impact, sending him flying to the ground in a crater. Young Midoriya. All Might yelled out in concern as he tried dodging the lasers. He quickly jumped back and clapped his hands, causing a shockwave to destroy the light beams. Incoming Young Midoriya. All Might yelled as he tried jumping towards where Izuku was, but was suddenly slammed into a wall by All For One, pinning him down. Nah, I don't think so, the villain said, pinning All Might's head towards the wall. Meanwhile, Deku weakly got up, vital fluid falling down his head. What happened? Midoriya said to himself, until suddenly he's pulled into his consciousness, where all the souls of the previous one for all users were. No, it can't be the soul of the seventh user. Nana. Shimura shuddered. Nana, what's going on? Deku yelled, holding his head, trying to get a grasp on what's going on. It's Tenko, something's wrong. It's like he's shattered, maybe he's gone, Nana said, falling to her knees as vague, painful images of Tenko rushed through her and Izuku's heads, with the rest of the souls looking on in shock. They can only assume the worst, and that is Tenko is dead, and if he's dead, then Emi is. Izuku snaps back to reality, yelling to All For One, All For One, what did you do to Tenko? He yelled in anger. All For One chuckles, slamming All Might into the ground. Me to that, Shimura boy. Let's see, he says, activating his search quirk. It looks like there is no trace of that boy in this radius. Guess one of my men must have taken care of him, he says with a hint of irritation in his voice, as if he needed Tenko for something. Oh well, I guess I should start wrapping things up, he says as he raises his hand up, as suddenly a cleave of air was sent towards Deku, who was still recovering from that last attack, but more importantly, he's still processing the death of his best friend. Young Midoriya. Suddenly, All Might jumped in front of him and took the slash head-on, causing a large red cut mark on his back, with it not only hitting All Might, but it caused a ripple effect and still hit Deku, although Midoriya was in a lot better shape. Hell, I knew you would do something like that, so I added a little ripple to it. All For One chuckles to himself, crossing his arms as he watches them suffer in pain. All Might. Why? Deku yelled through the pain. All Might couldn't help but let out a chuckle. Well, my legs sorta moved on their own. I guess you're rubbing off on me more and more every day, he says before coughing up vital fluid. You're this world's last hope, young Midoriya. I have my full trust in you. And with that, All Might falls unconscious to Dika's side. The supposed death of his best friend Tenko, Emi, and now potentially even All Might. He looks down at the ground at pool of vital fluid with his face reflecting in it. It could be the head trauma, but he could swear he could see the reflection of his Aldera middle school self, who had no will or power to do anything, which made him think of just how many people on this world were like him. Now he has the power to stand up for people who were too weak to do anything, stand against people like him who destroy lives like theirs. No, he won't stand back anymore. He won't act like the crying, weak, and frail boy he was in the middle school. Not anymore, not ever again. This monster took away his friends and mentor, so Izuku is going to make it easier for him by throwing away his own mercy. He stands up like a zombie to the surprise of All For One. Oh, back again for more, are we? Oh well, won't be for long, All For One said, uncrossing his arms as he sent out a casual energy beam from his hands, with Midoriya staying in the same position as it nearly hits him until slam. Deku flicked away the energy beam with little to no difficulty as saturated green electricity started building up around him. All For One looked in shock and widened eyes. Well, looks like I gotta strike you down myself, huh? Didn't think I would be capable of taking another human life before all of this, but now staring at someone as pathetic like you, am gonna love this, Deku said, almost chuckling evilly, which even weirded out the symbol of fear. What did you think I was gonna be easy? Ha ha ha, well get ready, I'm gonna be doing this till my last breath, he smirked, his emerald eyes glowing with the intention to kill. What's going on? This kid was muttering on the floor a minute ago, waiting for that smiling trash bag to save him, but now? It's like he's grown stronger. All For One thinks to himself, raising his hands again. Enough of this, the villain says, holding out his hand to fire another, but slash. Suddenly Midoriya suddenly appears in front of him, slashing his hand off with a makeshift spear made out of his black whip quirk, stunning the villain, as Izuku quickly followed up with a punch across the face. All for One knocked out of his stunned state and tried to land consecutive punches on Midoriya's face, but the green-haired hero simply moved his head out of the way and smirked, responding by smacking his across the face with the black whip spear multiple times before sending the villain flying with a final swing, as if he was playing baseball. All for One suddenly stopped in the middle of the air, using his airwalk quirk to catch himself. Enough. I don't know what's going on, but this brat is dead, he declares as he activates several quirks: multiplier, hypertrophy, kinetic booster, brawn, boost, overclock. All for One yells, buffing up his body and arms to give him all the power he needs to squash Midoriya. Our fight has only just begun, Izuku Midoriya. The villain yells, laughing evilly, thinking he has regained the advantage and about to beat this overconfident boy. Maybe you're right, you're so right. Midoriya suddenly yelled out to the dark sky like a madman. Midoriya looks back up and smirks as suddenly All for One jumped towards him at insane speed, rounding up a punch which hit the ground, instead shattering and causing debris to fly everywhere, as the two stared at each other before All for One charged in again in an attempt to hit Izuku, all failing to hit, until eventually he managed to land a straight fist to the cheek. Ha, gotcha. All for One laughed as Midoriya staggered back, his face turned so that All for One couldn't see, but when he did, he was wearing a wide smirk as he wiped off his lip. You can destroy entire continents, but you can't destroy one teenager, Izuku says, which angered All for One even more as he went for another punch, but Izuku dodged and responded with a gut punch, which made the villain cough up, as Deku followed up with a quick array of punches and finishing the combo with a kick, sending All for One back. All for One tried going in for another punch, but before the punch could land, Izuku vanished from his sights, leaving the villain to look aimlessly for where he could have went before turning to the sky, where Deku floated. I see my purpose now. I see what is wrong with this world. It diminishes the many, props up the few, and I have been blessed with a power only a handful has had the pleasure of possessing. One for all, and with that I can fix this world. Deku monologues as he puts his bloody white gloves over his head. In his head, he thinks of all of the smiling people and children. All of them could have their lives ruined if this monster is allowed to walk free any longer. The battle had been going on for so long that the sun started to rise up, enlightening the darkness over the desolate battlegrounds. As the great Buddha once said, throughout heaven and earth, I alone am the honored one, he declared, the sun starting to shine above him. All for One scoffed, you think you can play God, boy? You are mere boy on a power trip. We are ending this now, he yelled as suddenly the ground began to shake as a grotesque guts and body parts suddenly unleashed from the symbol of fear. I am throwing every single quirk I have against you. You're as good as dead, he yells. Meanwhile, Midoriya, still on his high, simply let it happen. Finally, All for One had finally finishes building up, his body now a city block-sized monstrosity full of different human and creatures' faces. You're finished, he yelled as the monstrosity went forward towards Midoriya, who just stood there. Midoriya closed his eyes as he felt the spirits of the previous one for all users all hold onto his back. Go on, ninth. Finish off my brother once and for all. The first, Yuichi said. This is the battle for the future. Make sure this world has a future worth living. The second, Kudo said. Ensure that nobody else should feel this pain. The third, Bruce said. Make him pay. The fourth, Hikage Shinomori said. Don't let me down, ninth. I know you can put this guy down. The fifth, Banjo said. This is what the last 100 years have been building up to free the world from tyranny. Izuku Midoriya the sixth, and said. Make sure Tenko would be happy. Please do it for me. The seventh, Nana Shimura said with more pain than everyone else. Midoriya opened his eyes, holding his hand straight up in the air as he feels power flowing through it, just as All for One is milliseconds from hitting him. Izuku lunged forward, raising his fist, yelling, United States of Smash, he yelled, plowing his fist into the monstrous villain, tearing through it effortlessly, tearing through the monster of a villain with ease. Impossible. Ah, yelled All for One, shock and pain as he is engulfed in an explosion which covers the entire surrounding area. The aftermath of the United States of Smash was jaw-dropping, Satellite images of that morning in Japan saw massive clouds formations moved all because of Izuku's punch. Pictured, the Sea of Japan 2008. As the dust settled over the battlefield, the symbol of hero all for one formally, the overwhelming dominating force in this world, is now reduced to a battered bloody pulp. He tries standing leaning on a wall despite having only one leg and one arm to speak of. Most of his face had been destroyed too. He pants to himself looking upwards to see his escape, but standing in front of him is Izuku. His walking is slow and deliberate. "Go stay away," he says, flickering one of his fingers as suddenly a slash was sent forward at Midoriya, who easily dodged it. "What? Did you really think I would just let my guard down because you look all weak and pathetic?" Midoriya chuckled as he noticed the symbol of fear running away on one foot. He walked up to the villain and knocked him down with a light kick. "Look at me," Izuku demanded. The villain looking up at the hero, although if you didn't know any better you would have thought the roles were reversed. "You were right all for one. I am you. I wanted to reject you. Wanted to pretend that I didn't understand a single thing about you, but that's different now," Izuku said, looking down at All for One. "We both have our idea for the perfect world, using our powerful array of quirks to our advantage to reshape the world in our image, but in my world there won't be space for monsters like you. People who take sick enjoyment in killing others and ruining lives. Make up as many sob stories as you want, but in the end it doesn't matter, I'll just kill you," Izuku said with increasing venom in his words. "Run away, change your name or face with any of the quirks you have, it doesn't matter, I'll just kill you again and again," Izuku growled, while All for One in that moment realized that he was going to die. Fear was seen in his eyes as all what he could work for could be destroyed in an instant. "Don't tell me you're scared? Why would a villain who thrives around death be afraid to die?" Izuku asked, his shadow towering over All for One's scared face. Midoriya raised his foot ready to smash All for One's head in, but as he did suddenly a portal opened underneath All for One, rescuing him from Izuku. Izuku didn't even look angry that he got away. He was more annoyed than anything as he fell to the floor and passed out. Some hours later, Tenko walks through the alleyways broken and beaten both mentally and physically, the wounds from his fight with Muscular still evident on his body as he struggled to hold himself up. But the physical injuries paled in comparison to the mental trauma. Every time he closed his eyes, he is haunted by the image of her dead, decayed body, and it was all his fault. Over the past years, he thought he had grown past the trauma of killing his entire family, especially his father, but Emi's death reopened that wound and made him realize that no matter how hard he tried to move past it, fate seems to push him into becoming a monster, a villain. "Looks like you need a hand there." Suddenly a voice appeared, knocking Tenko out of thought. He looked around, seeing a short bald man with a mustache and white lab coat appeared from a purple portal. "Who are you?" Tenko says, raising his hands in defense. "I mean no harm, boy. I'm Dr. Kyudai Garaki, and I work for All for One," the doctor said, reaching out his hand. "A villain? Why would I trust you?" Tenko staggered back. "Take a look." The doctor pointed up outside of the alleyway and into the busy streets of Mizudafu. A billboard was talking about the events of last night, but most importantly, one of the headlines read, "UA student Tenko Shimura wanted for murder," the headline said in all caps, as the news reporter explained the entire situation. "Look at them. They all hate you, and you have nowhere else to go," the doctor says, trying to get Tenko on his side. "But we can help you. Give you a place to stay and show you what you were meant to be." He follows up, raising his hand for him to grab, putting so much trust in Tenko despite knowing what he's capable of with a touch. Tenko sighs, backing his head against the wall. "Ah, geez, I tried so hard to fit in and be like them, but I always felt I was treated differently, like a dog on a collar." Tenko reminisces. He remembers growing up after being adopted by Yagi and seeing how people would be scared off by his face or stagger back when hearing about his quirk. Even at UA, he felt like they prevented him from taking part in events due to his quirk being too dangerous despite countless attempts to control it. Everyone except Midoriya. He lent it in his hand when Tenko was in his most dire moment and became his best friend for life. But how did the world treat him just because he was quirkless? Like trash. Maybe that's why they were inseparable, as they understood each other's pain of being different. Izuku Midoriya is the only one who truly understands him, and maybe that's why this world needs to change. Tenko reaches his hand forward before stopping and hesitating, before leaning in again and grabbing onto the doctor's hand with 4 fingers, accepting his fate. Midoriya suddenly opened his eyes. Instead of the destroyed building, he's in a hospital bed and dressed in a hospital gown with a bandage over his forehead. He turns his head to see Recovery Girl, Aizawa, and Sir Nightai. Mr. Aizawa, where am I? Midoriya said, lying up in the bed. Recovery Girl's office. You're back and you a kid, Aizawa says. Where is All Might? Izuku says with hope in his voice. He's in another room resting up. He was nearly as bad shape as you since you have both been out for a good 2 days, Recovery Girl butted in. Izuku banged his hand against the pillows. Oh, thank God, HM, said, whispering to himself. Sometime later, after getting changed into a white shirt and black jacket, Sir Nightai hesitantly approached him, while Aizawa and Present Mike stare from the side. Midoriya, there is some news that I think you should hear, Nightai said, a sweat drop rolling down his face. What is it? Midoriya asked. Tenko Shimura is alive, and we have sure evidence that he murdered Emi, Aoki, Nightai revealed. The news hit Midoriya like a truck. He didn't know how to respond to such news. Huh. You best hope this is some sick joke, because like hell he did. Midoriya said, angered, clenching his fists. Unfortunately not. We searched the area for her body everywhere, but we found nothing except for some bodies of gray dust, and after some DNA testing we confirmed it was her, Nightai said. His glasses steamed as he didn't have the guts to look at Midoriya in the eye. But why would he do such a thing? Izuku said, looking down at the ground. We can't seem to figure out. Either Aizawa bumped into the conversation, trying to confront Midoriya. He seems as angered about it as Midoriya, especially since this student-turned-villain was one of his own. Midoriya gripped his fist, to the point that vital fluid was coming out, until suddenly his phone vibrated in his pocket. He pulled out his phone and saw a message. It was from Tenko. Tenko, meet me there, we can talk. Then responded again with address, somewhere in the middle of Mizuta-fu. Without a second to ponder, he rushes out of the room. Midoriya, wait. Aizawa yelled, but it fell on deaf ears. Mizuta-fu was as busy as ever, thousands walking through the streets and crossing line, while in the middle of it was Izuku running through. Izuku stopped dead in his tracks as he saw him. Tenko, but now with bleach-white hair, standing in front of a fast food place. Yo, Izuku. Tenko waved casually. I honestly thought you wouldn't recognize me with the bleach-white hair. I got it after my quirk awakened, which is pretty convenient for hiding from heroes hunting me, he says, chuckling. Tenko, explain yourself. What you did to Emi, is it true? Izuku yelled. Yeah, everything you might have heard is all true. I killed Emi, but not intentionally. It was a freak accident when I tried saving her from falling, Tenko confessed. Yes. I knew you couldn't turn that easily. We can come back and prove it was just a freak accident, me and you. Izuku yelled out passionately and caringly, holding on to hope. Izuku, I think I'm far past that line by now. I ran like a guilty man, and now Eve made my mind up, Tenko said, effectively shutting down Izuku's proposal. What do you mean made up your mind? You're joining the villains now? Deku yelled. His body language is of a desperate man. Not exactly, Izuku. I just realized that this world needs change, that we need a clean slate on society, so that people like me will never end up like this again. By any means necessary, you understand, don't you? Tenko asked. Izuku was caught in a stun lock before finally responding. Tenko, I understand. Growing up quirkless made me realize how cruel this world can be to people like us, but now I have this power, I can set it on a good direction, Izuku confesses. Tenko looked in genuine happiness. Yes, Izuku, you get it. I knew you would understand me. You always do. Please, Midoriya, join me, and we can change the world, he said with his hands wide open minus the pinky fingers on both hands. Izuku hesitates for a moment. No, Tenko, I can't. What you're arguing is insanity. There is no way you can just destroy society and rebuild it from the ground up. It needs change, but not in that way, he yells. Tenko loses his temper slightly. That's why I need you, Izuku. Realistically speaking, you can be put up against the entire world at once and win easily. If I had your power, I could easily finish my plans within the weekend, but then again, would I even be as strong as you? Without your drive and willpower? I don't think so, so that's why I need you to join me, please, Tenko says, looking down at the ground. He really wishes Midoriya was on his side. Izuku hesitates with his next move, wondering if he should put his heroic duty over friendship. Midoriya raised his fingers. One snap of a Delaware smash would be enough, but would he do it? Are you planning to kill me, Izuku? Honestly, I get it. After what I did to Emi, I honestly deserve it, and more. Getting killed by my best friend would be the best death I could ever ask for, Tenko chuckles. A portal suddenly appears around Tenko. Unfortunately, I still have work to do, so goodbye, Izuku Midoriya. It was a pleasure being your friend. With those final words, Tenko vanished from sight, leaving Izuku to drop his hands thinking about the conversation he just had. So, this was the end of part 2 of this series. Stay tuned for next part of this series, and if you like this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Until next time.